Welcome back to HPP, the podcast that covers college basketball and the NBA draft inside now. I am Rich Harris, and thank you for joining us again. Today, I am joined by Caleb Slaten, who has become our resident college expert. That's what I
I'll
always
take
use.
it. I'll take it. Anything that I'm an expert in, I'm good to go.
Right. That's what I used to call Jake, but Jake is on hiatus for that other terrible sport. So how's things going, Caleb? We haven't talked for a while.
Good. Just been watching the NBA as it's been rocking and rolling. I've been trying to catch some glimpses of these secret scrimmages that are taking place behind closed doors and just like ready for games to get going.
There were two games that were televised, Illinois, Kansas, and
Yes.
Michigan State and Tennessee.
Yeah, both were really good games.
Yeah. So that was fun. That was fun to see them. All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to preview the Atlantic Coast Conference, or more commonly known as the ACC. And the first thing we're going to do is roll an interview I did a few days ago with Miles Kelly, the leading scorer for Georgia Tech. He is going into his junior season and definitely on an upward trajectory. Our guest today is Georgia Tech wing Miles Kelly. As a sophomore last season, Miles led the Yellow Jackets in scoring at 14.4 points per game. He also averaged 3.4 rebounds and 1.3 assists per game. Miles ranked fourth in the ACC with 89 three-pointers made and ranked fifth in the conference with a three-point percentage of 37.9. Miles, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am good. So how was your off season? Do anything special over the summer?
Yeah, for sure. My off season was very great. I mean, I entered the draft. I put my name into the draft, so I went through that whole process. And doing that, I was out in Miami. I went to LA. I went to Vegas for a couple of times. So I got to work with a lot of guys, a lot of pros. And doing all of that, I added 10 pounds. So that's a huge thing for me. So my off season was very good.
You know, I was looking at pictures from your freshman season to now. And, I was actually watching some tape last night, and I was thinking you have gotten significantly bigger already. But yeah that's good. So when you were all the traveling, was that all part of the draft process?
Yeah, mainly it was a part of the draft process. I mean, I was based out of Miami for my pre-draft. So, but as far as LA, some of my family is out there, and I was blessed enough to work with one of the guys down there. And he trains a lot of pros. So I was in the gym with guys like Kevin Durant, Paul George. So I got to pick their brains for a little bit and talk to those type of guys. So anytime you get to do that, that's huge for you in your career, because those are guys you look up to.
Right. Sure. How about Harden? Was Harden, because I know Harden Durant often train in California together.
Yeah, for sure. No, Harden wasn't out there, but I definitely paid attention to Harden for sure.
Right. So ultimately, you decided to come back. What type of feedback did you receive, and are there any specific aspects of your game, after the process was all over, that you've been focusing on, working on since you got that feedback?
Right. I mean, I got great feedback. A lot of the feedback was based on me, like I said, me getting stronger, and they just want to see me play more with the ball in my hands, making sure I can make the right read and stuff like that. They know I can shoot pretty well, so they want to see if I can make plays with the ball in my hand, make the right reads in terms of offense and lead my team.
Right. And how'd you put on the weight? Was it weightlifting, nutrition, some kind of combination?
It was all of that together. I mean, just being with Justin, our new strength guy, and our dietitian Leah, met with them a lot of times over the summer, and even when I was going through the process, talking to them and stuff like that. So, and then I have this app on my phone where I track all my calories of what I eat throughout the day. So as long as I hit that calorie goal, then it's a pretty good day. So as long as I did that, I kept the protein and all of that, and it just stayed in the weight room wherever I went. and it just got to 10 pounds. So it just allowed me to take different bumps on my drives and stuff like that, and it makes me look bigger too.
Right. You hang around with me, I'll put the weight on you.
For sure.
All right. So you're entering your junior season, and with a new head coach, Damian Stoudemire. Did coach have to re-recruit you to keep you at Georgia Tech, or were you already made up your mind?
I mean, I wasn't really focused on that. I was, like I said, I entered the draft process, so mainly I was focused on the workouts I had with different teams and just me getting ready for those workouts and stuff like that. So, but throughout the process, I was talking to Coach Stoudemire, and he was just shedding knowledge on me of how the process was going, and because he's been there and he's been played there at the highest level, so it was just great having him to be kind of like a mentor to me in that process, because he's already went through it. So ultimately I decided to come back because I just felt this was the best place for me to continue my career.
Right. And there's also have Bonzi Wells on the coaching staff, former NBA player. So you got a lot of nice resources there.
Right.
So the team, and bear with me because I know you know all this stuff, but the listeners don't, or maybe they do. But the team's going to have a new look plus a new coach, and gone are power forward Javon Franklin moved on to the pros.
Mm-hmm.
Davion Smith went to Utah. Jalen Moore went to Oklahoma. Center Roddy Howard went to Western Kentucky, and those returning, including yourself, include Debo Coleman, shooting guard Lance Terry, point guard Kyle Studwant, and also in the mix, you got a bunch of newcomers coming in, including Kwesi Reeves from Florida, Bay Ndongo, a freshman, power forward center. You also have combo guard Amari Abram coming from Ole Miss. Tafara Kapari from UMass, he's forward. Power forward Tyson Claude, and center Ebenezer Duwana from NC State. So that's a bunch of new faces. And I should add, for those who don't know, Kwesi is a former top 40 guy, and Gapara, Abram, and Dongo were all top 125 guys at different times when they were coming out. So having said all that, how do you think this team is shaping up, and how would you compare it to last year's squad?
I mean, I think the team is shaping up really well. I mean, we've been going at it this whole summer. As soon as we were able to get everybody together and into workouts, and coach was able to put his knowledge to us, I mean, everything's been coming together. We've been looking real good. I've been impressed with some of the new guys that came in, just their talent level and their versatility, and I think that's going to be huge for us.
I would think, just based off what I just read, I mean, it's pretty safe to say you guys look deeper this year.
No, for sure. I mean, we have a lot of interchangeable guys this year. A lot of, like I said, a lot of versatility. We're a lot longer, so it allows us to play a little bit more freely, defensively and offensively. Right.
So you definitely appear loaded at guard and wing, but in my opinion, and only me because I'm a fan of his game, Javon Franklin's not going to be easy to replace. And he was so scrappy. He played much bigger than his size. He's a good defender, very productive, around the basket. So, you mentioned that certain guys have impressed you. Is there a couple of particular guys in the front court have been standing out in practices? Do you think that you're going to be okay without Javon?
No, for sure. Of course, losing Javon is like a huge hole in our team. But the new guys in the front court that are coming in, they've been working super hard in the weight room and in the court to just be the best player they can be. But as far as one player, I would say Bai Ndongo. He's a freshman. This is his first year in college, but he's really active on the glass. He's really active in the game in general, just blocking shots. He can knock down an open shot. He can get to the rack. So him just being so versatile, where he could space the floor and play down low, has been huge.
All right, well, that's good to hear. I saw you smile when I said Javon's name. You guys pretty close?
Nah, for sure, that's my guy.
And
I still talk to him a lot to this day.
And he's playing somewhere in Europe. I forgot to take note
Yeah,
where.
he's in Serbia right now.
Yeah. That's a good place to be, man. Those
Nah, for
people,
sure. Before he went out there, he was telling me like that's one of the best leagues in Europe to play in.
And their fans, they're just crazy about
For
basketball.
sure.
They are crazy about basketball.
For sure.
And they know their basketball too.
Exactly. That's what's crazy.
Yeah. So let's talk about the team's play style. Do you think it's going to change under Coach Stoudemire?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have two different. Coach Patterson and Coach Stoudemire have two different play styles, and they have two different messages they were trying to portray because they're two different people and two different coaches. So I mean, Coach Stoudemire, he's been preaching like attention to detail, making everybody's in the right spots for spacing and playing a lot faster because of the versatility we have on the wings. We're very athletic and long, so we can get out and run a little bit. So he's just trying to be preaching that spacing, attention to detail, and everything will be fine.
Right. Okay, so that's what I expected you to say. I thought your pace might pick up.
No, for sure. It's definitely one of the things we've been focusing on. Definitely trying to play with more pace and get up and down a little bit for sure.
Right. So you underplayed your own ability when you said I don't know the exact words you used, but you said you said NBA teams know you're an okay shooter or something of this. You're a little better than an okay shooter. You're one of the top shooters in the conference. So I didn't even mention at the top that you shot 90% from the free throw line last year, in addition to how many threes you made. But you excelled, if you look at Synergy, you excelled in catch and shoot. You excelled off-screen situations, handoff situations. And I doubt that's going to change. But in what ways do you think your role will expand this year?
I mean, just in a more leadership aspect. I mean, a lot of the times last year, my first year and my sophomore year, I was kind of the young guy. I was kind of one of the youngest on the team. So just in terms of leadership, now I'm a junior now, so I gotta be more vocal and lead by example for the younger guys who have coming in, and also the transfers. And I just think me being more of a leader on the court just leads to more opportunities on the court too, as far as me playing with the ball in my hands, me playmaking for my team, me making the right reads, me continue to shoot the ball well, and just show what I can do on the court.
Okay. With all these new parts, I'm sure haven't seen the ACC preseason poll, but I'm sure people are kind of sleeping on you guys. So with all these new parts, what are you guys saying to each other? This is our goal this season.
Well, for sure. To your point, I think they had us at 13 in the ACC preseason poll for this year.
Well, that's not happening.
Exactly. So pretty much it's just fuel to the fire. I mean, we kind of knew that based off the season we had last year, and we have a new system, new coach. So guys want to see if we can really play and really put things together on the court. So, but it's just fuel to the fire. We're just going to keep working hard and put together some wins this year so we can move that ranking up.
Right. Any talk about going to the NCAAs?
Oh, for sure. That's the main goal. That's like, I haven't been to an NCAA tournament since I've been here, so that's like my whole goal, and that just goes along with me being more of a leader, so I could vocalize to these guys that that's something that we all want to experience and we all need to experience, and everything stems from winning and going hard in practice. So that's what I've been trying to preach.
Right, because the last time Georgia Tech went, it was just the year before you came.
Right, the year before I came.
Yeah, you guys won the conference. And went on to the NCAAs. All right. So, last question, fun question. I know you got some educational stuff you got to get to. So, can you tell me something about yourself that not many outsiders, when I say outsiders, like not teammates or close friends or family, know about you? It could be like a hobby, it could be an interest, anything like that.
Right. I'll give you two things about me. The first thing is I'm really big into real estate. I know that's kind of hard at a young age, but I'm really big into real estate. My mom is a real estate agent, and so she really taught me the ropes and stuff of how to be be in real estate and look at different properties. So just me trying to get into real estate and me trying to get like different properties and stuff like that. And then the second thing I would say, I really just got into golf. So I've been going to the golf course with my cousins a lot, and some of the people on the staff, I've been to the course with them. And yeah, so those are two things that I would say not many people know about me.
I'm going to warn you, golf's addictive.
It is. It definitely. Exactly. As soon as I picked up the club, I was like, I got to go back next week, because the first time I picked it up, I was not good at all. So I was like, I got to be better next time. I got to figure out a way to hit this ball as far as I can. So for sure.
Right. Yeah, I actually got a bad back, so I can't play as much as I used to, but it's much tougher than people think. And once you start to get a little good at it, then you just don't want to stop playing.
Exactly. Once I seen I could hit a couple balls consecutively, I was like, oh yeah, this is my sport for sure.
All right. Well, Miles, I want to thank you for joining us on the show today, and I wish you guys the best, and you the best too, this season. And please come back and visit us down the road.
For sure. I appreciate you having me.
All right. So it was good to talk to Miles, and now we're going to dive into our conference preview. So we'll review quickly what happened last season. Of course, the conference for the conference championship, Miami and Virginia tied for the regular season title, finishing one game ahead of Duke, Pitt, and Clemson. And I must admit, last year, the ACC standings were quite the mess. So, think about it. Clemson, finished fifth in that conference, or actually tied for third, and they didn't make the NCAA tournament, and teams lower than them in the standings did. So, which we will go over right now. But first, Duke won the ACC tourney by defeating the Cavaliers in a slugfest. That was 59-49, and they earned the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Now, in the NCAAs, joining Duke, who was a 5 seed despite beating Virginia, and Virginia was a 4 seed. Miami of Florida was a 5, NC State was an 11, and Pittsburgh was a 12 for a total of 5 bids. Miami was the only team out of the group to advance to the Sweet 16, and the Canes actually made it to the Final Four, losing in the national semifinals to the eventual champion UConn 72-59. It was a great run, though, by Miami. In terms of the NIT, Clemson and Virginia Tech were the 2 AC teams to make the NIT, and both lost in the first round. So we have a few coaching changes to discuss. We talked to Miles Kelly about the coaching change at Georgia Tech, where Damian Stoudemire replaces Josh Pastner, who doesn't have a job right now, but I hear he's living near campus and working on TV. So Michael Shrewsbury replaces Mike Bray, who kind of retired. He's working, I believe, for the Cleveland Cavaliers as an assistant coach. And Adrian Autry, a longtime assistant at Syracuse, replaces the retired Jim Boeheim. Great career, Jim. Can't say I necessarily will miss you, but you had a wonderful career. You're a character, that I will say. So we're going to go over the teams in order of finish last year, and so we'll review what's going on with Miami of Florida first, talk about their biggest losses, their top returners, and their top newcomers. Gone, Jordan Miller went to the NBA. Isaiah Wong, NBA. Harold Beverly, seldom, well, he got some regular minutes. A wing, moved on to Wichita State. Anthony Walker, same thing. He got spot minutes. He moves on to Indiana. Who's coming back? Nigel Pack, the little explosive point guard who can shoot pretty much from anywhere on the floor. Nor Chad O'Meara, the dominant on the boards, undersized center. He's the conference's leading returner for rebounding percentage at 20.9 and win shares at 5.4. Wooga Poplar, the athletic wing, who kind of got spot starts last year, but really this year he's going to be a full-time starter, and expect him to really take off. Bensley Joseph comes back. He's a aggressive on-ball defender, and some former high recruits are also coming back, headlined by AJ Casey, who's kind of a combo forward. And the top newcomers, Matthew Cleveland, former 4-star, 5-star, I forget which, comes in from Florida State. He is joined by Keyshawn George, who last year played in the French 2nd division, and Michael Nwoko comes in as a 3-star recruit. He is a center. So, Caleb, having said all that, what do you make of this Miami Hurricane squad? They lose a couple of really good players, but they bring back some really nice pieces, and they add Cleveland.
I think they're gonna be good. Like, I definitely think they're gonna take a step back. Anytime you lose 2 of your leading scorers in Isaiah Wong and Jordan Miller, I think that's bound to happen. I'm a big Matthew Cleveland fan. I think there was probably some optimism he might have a similar trajectory to Devin Vassell. As a Florida State guy, but we didn't quite see that. Florida State was kind of all out of sorts last year, I think, for a lot of reasons, but I think he's going to provide some good length. I really like what AJ Casey brings as well. And I think the most important thing is they bring back some shooters, right? As we've been going through some of these conferences, especially with some of these top teams, our questions are like, hey, really good defense, really good seniority, but like, can they create space? Can they hit shots? Right? Like, those are where a lot of our questions lie.
Right.
And Nigel Pack, off the dribble, 40% 3-point shooter. Bensley Joseph, probably going to have to shoot more than he did last year. He was only at 20 minutes a game, 40% 3-point shooter. Wooga Poplar needs to get up a little more, 37% 3-point shooter. Like, are those stats real? Because some of them didn't shoot a lot. That's certainly debatable, but I think the shooters are there to really get it up and down the floor pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I see, they potentially have 4 all-conference type players in Cleveland, Pack, Omier, and Poplar. And I think Poplar might turn out to be the best of the bunch, in terms of pro potential.
Yeah.
But you look at that starting 5, it's not very big. Omir's going to be playing the center again, and he's like 6'7". I mean, they do have the freshman coming in at center.
I think he's going to get a lot of run behind Omier, but if you're playing 18 minutes a game, you can't be counted on to be the lead rebounder,
Right. So, I think this team is going to be good defensively. I think they're going to shoot well. It's just they do lack size.
Have you I did not get to watch the scrimmage. Have you seen a lot of Keyshawn George at all?
No, I know he got the start in the team's most recent scrimmage, but no. But I'm always encouraged when a guy has gotten some pro experience, which he did, albeit limited. So he's probably the most exciting freshman of the bunch. He's a wing, by the way, so he doesn't really help so much in the size department. But
they're gonna have to gang rebound. I think the pressing defense and kind of the up in your face tempo that Larinaga really likes to play, I think kind of benefits probably their roster construction, right? But it's can they rebound well enough, and then can they defend size? I think that's probably where the size factor is gonna come in the most.
Right. All right. So next up is Virginia, and they lost a bunch of guys, including Kie Clark, who had been there forever, Armand Franklin, good shooting wing, Jaden Gardner, who was a power forward center for them. Ben Vanderplas, who was a grad transfer for them last year, pretty good shooter. He's playing in the pros. Caden Shedrick, part-time starter at center, very athletic guy. He moves on to Texas. And the other guy who got a lot of minutes at center last year, Francisco Cafaro, he moves on to Santa Clara. And they also lose Isaac Trout, who I believe redshirted last year, or if he played, he barely played. He moves on to Creighton, and he's a nice stretch option for Creighton, but won't help Virginia. So Virginia brings back Reese Beekman, one of the best guards in the country. He's the reigning defensive player of the year in this conference. He also is the leading assist guy at 5.3 per game and the leading returner for steals at 1.8 per game. Ryan Dunn, big time athlete. Dunn often gets compared to DeAndre Hunter. Now he didn't have a spectacular year last year, but this is his year to shine. Isaac McNeely, a combo guard, shot pretty well last year, and he's going to be playing, probably starting this year. They also have a couple other high recruits that didn't get a lot of playing time last year, and Tane Murray and Leon Bond. Actually, Bond redshirted last year, but he was a top 70 recruit. So coming in, there's nobody here on their recruiting list or their freshman class or their transfers that really blows you away. Though Andrew Rode, a wing out of St. Thomas, put up really nice numbers. He's a stat sheet stuffer. Can it translate to the ACC? We will see. Deontay Harris played huge minutes last year for Georgetown at point guard. He's a good passer, but not a good shooter. Jacob Groves, who's Tanner Groves' younger brother, he comes in from Oklahoma. He's not as big as Tanner, not as productive as Tanner. Jordan Minor comes in from Merrimack. He has great numbers at that school for rebounding and shot blocking, but again, can it translate? And their best freshmen were two guys that were around top 75, and that's center power forward Blake Buchanan and Elijah Gertrude, shooting guard. So as you can see, nobody to get overly excited about in the guys that are coming in to replace some pretty steady players.
Yeah, I think they're going to be, they'll still be a tough team. Like, as you said, none of these are standout transfers or standout freshmen, but my inclination is to just trust Tony Bennett. And obviously the pack line defense has its own benefits. And I think protecting these players is almost one of those things, right? Like if they are as efficient as Bennett wants them to be in the limited amount of possessions, like that's going to really benefit them. I'm really excited to see the jump. I think like Beekman, Ryan Dunn, and McNeely in the backcourt is going to be really, really, really good truly on both sides of the ball. I think this team will probably push for an NCAA tournament bid. And I think Andrew Rode might be the real deal. He just, shooting translates to me. And I think their offense is going to be able to get him some good looks with Beekman and McNeely on the ball.
Yeah, at least catch and shooting translates. Sometimes yes. Off-ball shooting doesn't, or on-ball shooting, off-dribble shooting, I should say.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the size on this team or lack of it. Sure. They might end up playing a lot of small ball. Also, they've had two nice recruiting classes back to back, and I think we're going to see a lot of those guys headlined by McNeely and Dunn playing a lot of minutes this year. So. All right, so now we move on to Caleb's Duke Blue Devils. And
did you hear the reports from the secret scrimmage?
I did not.
So they played Villanova in the secret scrimmage. Tough team. From what I have heard, what my sources have told me, it was not particularly close.
For Duke won?
Yes, it was not the most competitive of scrimmages.
That does not surprise me. That
makes me very happy.
Yeah. And for once, this team is not starting from scratch. Actually, far from it. Who they lost? We'll start with that. Derek Lively on to the Dallas Mavericks. Tariq Whitehead on to the Brooklyn Nets, and Jacob Granderson moved on to play in Europe. Three nice pieces, but none of them actually were full-time starters last year. So. Now, the guys who were full-time starters are all coming back, and that's Kyle Filipowski, and he was the Rookie of the Year in the ACC, and he's the leading returner for defensive rating. You got Tyrese Proctor, a nice combo guard with great passing skills. He comes back. Mark Mitchell, kind of a do everything, blue collar guy, returns at forward. Jeremy Roach is back at point guard. He's the veteran of the group. Ryan Young was in the discussion last year for Sixth Man of the Year. He's the leading returner, believe this or not, in all of the ACC. Who's the leading returner in plus minus? Ryan Young.
Let's go.
And they also bring back some sophomores that barely played as freshmen last year. Jalen Blakes, Christian Reeves, and Jaden Schutt. And I heard Reeves has been looking good, but I don't expect him to get a ton of playing time with Filipowski on the team. The recruiting class is also excellent. 4 top 20 guys joined this team, all 5 stars. Sean Stewart, a power forward. Jared McLean, a combo guard. Caleb Foster, a combo guard. And TJ Power, a power forward. What's interesting is, for once, we're really not even overly concerned about the freshmen coming in because the returners are so good.
It'll take all of me to not just like wax poetic about both this upcoming season and also the fact that we have Cooper Flagg coming in next year.
Right. Right.
I'm so excited. I love what Shire is doing. I mean, Filipowski is my pick for player of the year in the conference, but like also
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry. You don't have to listen to the end of the podcast. I also really love like Tyrese Proctor. I think he's going to take over the reins for this team. Like, oh man, I'm so excited for this Duke team. I've also heard that about Christian Reeves, and I think that's going to be potentially like one of the X factors. Last time I checked, Ryan Young is coming off the bench and is going to be kind of that third big behind Mitchell and Filipowski. But like Ryan Young is 6'8" and not the most athletic or mobile guy in the world, despite like how good he is at positioning himself. And so Christian Reeves being a 7-footer, I think is going to be huge, literally for us to come off the bench. I've heard Jared McCain was that 5th starter. So to go along with, starting Filipowski, Mitchell, and then McCain, Proctor, and Roach. And I love McCain. He was a Corona Centennial guy in high school out of California. He won, Corona Centennial won the state with him as the starter, both freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year, which was just like such a great leader. Back in the day, he was on Team Why Not with Kylan Boswell from Arizona. Like their AAU team was really good. And Caleb Foster's just a bucket getter. Like he's going to probably be the first guard off the bench. In the California Open State Championship game, he set the California Open State record for most points scored in the championship game with like 46.
Wow.
Just absurd bucket getter. And he is fascinating to me. I really think, especially looking like long-term. I know this podcast is about this year, but I really like to think, how does these
this podcast is about basketball.
Yeah, I know, but we're doing a year preview, right? But like
right.
Foster's super interesting to me because for his high school team, he was asked to be a bucket getter. He was asked to be a scorer, and he's like 6'5", big frame, like already put on some weight at Duke. But in the AAU circuit, he was playing as like a true real point guard, a distributor, trying to set everybody up. And so I think like that flexibility is going to be really key for playing with all the guards and maybe even going forward into some other years where he can step into some other roles. So to me, like Duke is a legitimate national title team. Filipowski is going to push for player of the year in the ACC, player of the year in the conference. Proctor, I think also like potentially could be, and I think probably could end up being potentially a top 10 pick. Like a lot of flexibility with this team. It is still young, but I'm super excited for this season. Sorry about that.
I haven't made up my mind yet, and we haven't previewed all the conferences yet. But right now, Duke is the best team I have evaluated to date. So right now, they're going to be my pick for the national champion. Well, but there's still more. But we'll actually make that call later on this week with our picks. But go ahead.
The other thing that frustrates me is like, I just saw somebody put out. I think The Athletic did like a college basketball ranking of like 1 to 300. Like they ranked every team in the country. And
I think there's 365, so they left 65 off.
Okay,
Those bastards.
They did all the teams. I didn't remember the number. But to me, like, they have Kansas number 1. We don't have to go down that road. Let's not go down that road.
Actually, we will be talking Kansas in our next episode, so
yes,
won't be too long. All right. So let's move on to Pittsburgh. They had a surprisingly good year, but they lose a lot of guys, and most of them are in the backcourt. Jamarius Burton, combo guard, moves on to the pros. Nelly Cummings, point guard, moves on to the pros. Nick Sabande, a shooting guard, moves on to the pros, and he was the 6th man of the year in this conference. Greg Elliott, shooting guard, moves on to the pros. And they also lose 2 players who figured to be big parts of this year's team. And that's John Hughley, who left the team mid-season. Not sure why, but Hughley is transferred to Oklahoma. And Dior Johnson, who got in some trouble, then he got hurt. And then he got more trouble, and Pitt kicked him off the team. And now he's at Clarendon College, a junior college. And so he was slated to actually be this team's point guard. So who do they have back? They got plenty of size coming back, including forward Blake Hinson, who's the smallest guy I'm going to name on this group, but he's like a 6'6", 6'7" combo forward, and he's the conference's leading returner for three-pointers made. He's got a pretty shot. He made 97 last year at a 38% clip. They also have the Diaz-Graham brothers. One, Guillermo's more of a center. Jorge is more of a power forward. Both of these guys could shoot. Both of these guys have good footwork. And they also have the conference's leading returner for blocks, 1.7 per game, and that's Federico. So there's no problem with size on this team. So what are they doing elsewise? Well, coming in is Zach Austin, a wing small forward from High Point. He's a solid player. Ishmael Leggett, a shooting guard from Rhode Island, has always had trouble with efficiency. And then they have the recruiting class, which is led by Jalen Lowe, a point guard. He was number 82 in the composite rankings. Looks like to me he's going to have to start out of the gate. They also bring in Papa Conte and Carlton Carrington, who were both top 120 recruits. Conte is a center and Carrington is a shooting guard. So this team is really hurting for guards. Yeah,
they'll definitely a step down, right? I don't expect them to finish third again. I actually, from what I've heard, I think Carlton Carrington is probably going to get the start with Leggett.
Wow.
At the guards. I think they're going to start both of them.
And Lowe is going to come off the bench, huh?
I don't. Yes, potentially. I do know that Carrington and Leggett. So again, secret scrimmage. Take it with a huge grain of salt. But they recently played Georgetown. Not the worst team in the world. Recently played Georgetown, and both Leggett and Carrington pushed for 20 points over the scrimmage. And Lowe was around like 7 or 8, so definitely not the scorer. And from what I can tell, didn't quite get the run as far as minutes go. So like maybe they adjust the minutes a little bit, but it seems like for most of the game, my guess is probably because they feel like they really have that defense solid with the Diaz-Graham brothers and with Federico as the back line, that in the front court in the back court they really want that scoring punch.
By the way, speaking of Federico, last night I saw a guy, he's on one of these teams. He's either in the ACC or in the Big 12, one of the teams we're going to talk about this week, who not only had a first name and last name be the same, his middle name was also the same.
Was it Bol?
No.
Bol?
No, it was, I think his name started with an A, I forget. But anyway, okay, so we'll move on to Clemson, who made the NIT last year. Some thought maybe they were going to make the NCAA. And they lose one of their best players, perhaps their best player, and Hunter Tyson has moved on to the Denver Nuggets. They also lose Brevin Galloway, a combo guard, to the pros, and center Ben Middlebrooks moved on to NC State. He wasn't a key piece because of Clemson's top returner, PJ Hall. PJ is a center power forward who can stretch the floor. He's the conference's leading returner for player efficiency rating at 27.4. Also the conference's leading returner in usage percentage at 30.8. They also bring back steady combo guard Chase Hunter, who will probably run the point this year. RJ Godfrey is a sophomore, showed a lot of promise last year, an athletic forward. I figure he will start. Also bring back Alex Hemingway, a shooting guard, who's the conference's leading returner for three-point percentage. Are you ready for this, Caleb? 47.1% on almost 4 attempts per game.
Basically, Steph Curry.
Yeah. And coming in, they also bring in some really nice, solid pieces. Jack Clark from NC State, a real scrapper of a forward. He's the conference's leading returner for steal percentage. They bring in Joseph Girardi, who I think has been playing since the 90s. He comes in from Syracuse. He, believe it or not, is this conference's leading returning scorer at 16.4 points per game. And of course, Girardi can play the point or he can play shooting guard. And they also bring in from Air Force Jake Heidenbreeder, a shooting guard with nice size and also another deadly shooter. And to replace the departed Ben Middlebrooks, they bring in Bas Leite, a center from UNC Greensboro. He's not really a physical presence. I don't see him getting a ton of time, just enough to give PJ Hall a blow. So a lot of good shooters on this team, couple of nice bigs. Point guard, solid, not great. What do you think?
I feel like this is almost similar to me to like the Virginia conversation. I think this team's definitely going to be a lot better than, maybe not a lot better, but I think this team will definitely be better than Virginia. PJ Hall, Chase Hunter, Godfrey all coming back. Like Hemingway getting more run. Heidenbreeder, really solid in the backcourt. I'll be honest, Girard is not necessarily my flavor, but really experienced. But like you said, like not a ton kind of coming in, especially on the freshmen. We had this conversation right with Duke, like what does it look like down the road?
Right.
And I think that when I say this is similar to Virginia, it's like I just trust Brad Burnell. Like I think Brad Burnell is going to get his players in the right spots. He's going to run very good offense, very good defense that is going to in some way protect his players and like put them in the best case possible to be successful. I think in some way the success of this team for the year is just going to be a lot on PJ Hall and Chase Hunter getting shots and setting their teammates up.
Yeah. No top 200 recruits coming in. So they don't even have one top 200 guy coming in this year. So they're going to have to do some work next year.
Their 2024 recruiting class is like roughly already, it's not completed, I think, especially in this era of transfers, right? Like they could need more than 3, but they do already have 3, I would say 3 top 150 guys. They've got one guy who's about 160, 170, but I think he's a little underrated. So three top 150 guys all kind of locked in for next year.
Right. Now we move on to NC State, who had the fantastic guard trio last year, Terquavion Smith, Jaquel Joyner, and Casey Morsell. But unfortunately for NC State fans, 2 of those guys are gone. Smith has moved on to a 2-way with the Sixers. Joyner is in the G League. And the aforementioned Jack Clark, as we said, moved on to Clemson. They also lose Dusan Mahorek, a center who got hurt, was starting for the early part of the year, got hurt, and then really never got his job back. DJ Burns took over and really played well for them. They also lose Greg Grant, former high recruit to UNC Asheville, to play alongside Drew Pember. And Isaac Miranda, who reclassified last year, joined the team around Christmas time. He didn't play a minute. He redshirted last year. He's a 7'1" skinny center, top 60 guy, 4-star guy. he didn't play a minute for them, and then for whatever reason, now he's going to Oklahoma State. So he basically had a cup of coffee there and said goodbye. So who comes back? The aforementioned Morcell, who's one of the best shooting guards in this conference. DJ Burns, if you haven't seen DJ play, he is a moose. He's got to weigh about 325, and he cannot be moved in the paint. Ernest Ross, former high recruit, got some playing time last year. He's got an NBA-looking body, but hasn't quite ever put it together. He returns. Also, LJ Thomas, who was a decent, I think he was a 3 or 4 star guy, combo guard. He returns. Now, with all those guys leaving, they had to reboot and bring in a bunch of new guys. So, and most of it's for the transfers. I'll just talk about the one freshman coming in. That's Dennis Parker Jr. He's a wing. He was number 125 in the composite rankings. Don't see him playing a lot this year. Now, at the top of the transfer list is MJ Rice, former 5-star, didn't play a ton last year for Kansas. He's a wing. I figure he's probably going to take over the role of Traquavion Smith this year and be this team's leading scorer. We have the steady combo guard DJ Horn coming in from Arizona State. Michael O'Connell, a point guard from Stanford, never quite lived up to expectations there. He's looking for a fresh start at NC State. They also bring in Jaden Taylor, shooting guard from Butler, Ben Middlebrooks, who we mentioned before, coming in, center from Clemson. Cam Woods, a combo guard from North Carolina A&T. He was pretty darn productive there. And also Muhammad Diarra, a seldom used power forward from Missouri, comes in. So a lot of new faces. They still have Morcell and Ross. First thing they got to do is find a point guard, and that's probably either going to be Horn or O'Connell.
Can Horn play the point guard?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess we'll find out.
Well, O'Connell, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely going to be under, Stanford has been a mess. He was also like an All-American at lacrosse. And
back?
So I don't know if he played both sports. You had the academic requirements at Stanford. Maybe a new start. He was like a top 120 guy. He was around number 100 in the composite rankings when he first came out. I think Horn could also play the point. I think Morcell, can also handle too. So
my hope is that Michael O'Connell just has to study less.
Right.
Being at Clemson or being at NC State now. So less studying, more basketball, totally going to change the scene.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. That was kind of a joke. Sorry. That fell flat. I think you're right, though, about Horn.
I'm sorry. I was actually looking to the next team, figuring out what I was going to say.
That's funny. I think Horn will probably start. Like I really like this team's starting 5, honestly, right? With Horn, Morcell, MJ Rice, probably Ernest Ross and DJ Burns. Like I think that's a solid starting 5. I even think like LJ Thomas coming off the bench. I think Jaden Taylor can provide some depth. I like Middlebrooks as a backup center. But the top end, I just don't see, unless Morcell and MJ Rice. I think those are going to be the 2 guys, unless one of them or both of them can really take a leap in off the dribble basketball creation, whether it be shot freak creation for themselves, like getting easy buckets from 3 or getting to the basket or creating for others. Unless one of those 2 guys really takes the leap, which I was a huge MJ Rice fan coming out of high school, coming out of Oak Hill, and I was really disappointed.
I was high on him too.
Yeah, he's such a physical basketball player. Plays really hard on both sides of the court. I don't think he's I don't think he's a great passer, but I don't think he's selfish either. So I'm hoping this change of scenery is really good for him. But I do think it's going to be kind of like Morcell or MJ Rice or both if they want to like take the leap and be in what I think we consider to be a pretty locked in top 3 teams in the conference.
Right. So with North Carolina, who didn't make the tournament last year, and you might call last year, even though they didn't have a losing record, maybe the most disappointing in school history, because they were everybody's pick to win it all at the start of the season. Beware, Duke fans. the being picked to win it all in October is often a kiss of death.
Yeah, leave it to Kansas. Kansas can be number one. Michigan State can be number one. That's fine. Just know that we're coming. That's all I've got to say.
Right. Well, I think in our poll amongst HP people, I think Duke's going to finish up on top, but we will find out. All right, so North Carolina uncharacteristically loses a bunch of guys, and not so much because of graduation. So we'll go over who they lost first. Caleb Love goes to Arizona. Leaky Black goes to the NBA. Pete Nance goes to the G League. And then we have a bunch of guys that were top 100 guys moving on who still have eligibility left. Some of them have lots of eligibility left. Puff Johnson goes to Penn State. DeMarco Dunn goes to Penn State. Tyler Nickel goes to Virginia Tech, and Dontrez Styles goes to Georgetown. So who comes back? Really four main pieces, and they're good pieces. Armando Bacot, the conference's leading returner for rebounds per game at 10.4. We know Bacot is a force in the paint, especially offensively, not so much defensively. RJ Davis will probably play better without Caleb Love on the team. He's back at point guard. Jalen Washington's a very athletic forward, power forward type. I can't wait to see what he does as a starter. And Seth Tremble was a really highly regarded point guard, combo guard. He will probably start next to Davis. Now, incoming from the portal is a bunch of guys. Harrison Ingram comes in from Stanford. Cormac Ryan, who formerly played for Stanford, but then went to Notre Dame. He comes in as a shooting guard from Notre Dame. Jalen Withers comes in from Louisville. Paxson Wojcik comes in from Brown. James Okonwo, a power forward center, comes in from West Virginia. And then you have the recruits. Not too many, but some really good ones. Point guard Elliot Cadeau is a 5-star coming in, and Zayden High, a power forward, is a 4-star. So what do you make of your rival Tar Heels?
Unfortunately, I think they're going to be really good. As I said, a big fan of the returners. And I think it's interesting too. I think a lot of the guys that they lost, like Puff Johnson, DeMarco Dunn, Dontrez Styles, Tyler Nickel, it was like, I think they kind of got pushed out. Right? Like I think Hubert Davis wanted his own guys, and he was like, I want guys who are going to play my way. Caleb Love is another one that kind of got, I think, asked not to return. So I think that's going to be really interesting, right? Because like a lot of these guys, a lot of this team is going to be built from the portal. I do think they're going to be really good. I love Cadeau coming in. I actually think Cadeau and RJ Davis should start in the backcourt together. That's what I would do personally. I think Zayden High sneaky is going to be really good, really athletic. Played for Compass Prep in high school, a really good, like a pretty consistent, like top 10 high school team in the country. He started for them. Like I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be good because he can really stretch the floor. Jalen Washington's really good in the paint, but not quite the spacer that Zayden High is. And then I think they just bring a lot of shooting in, like Cormac Ryan, Jalen Withers, and Paxson from Brown are all going to be top, like really good shooters, 38%, maybe 35% up. The interesting thing, and I think the X factor for me for this team is going to be Harrison Ingram. Another guy like McDonald's All-American, coming out of high school, goes to Stanford, and I was super excited to see what he could do. Like he's a sneaky passer. He's an above average ball handler for his size, more of a power forward, a power wing, like maybe a small 4. He's 6'7", 230. But I think like his ball handling ability from the wing spot could be particularly interesting. He's not really going to put pressure on the defense with his shooting. That's kind of been the big thing, I think, holding him back at Stanford. But I think if they can unlock some ways to use him creatively in the offense, like RJ Davis is a scorer, Cadeau can be a shooter, Withers can score. Like if they can use him to create some creative looks, I think they could be pretty interesting offensively.
Yeah. Two things you'll notice about the top 4 recruits. 3 of them came from high academic institutions. No, I'm serious.
So you're saying they're smart.
I'm saying they are smart. And I'm saying, you talked about how the other guys maybe were pushed out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is maybe Hubert Davis, instead of getting all these athletes and guys who could jump out of the gym, hey, I want some smart guys who can actually make a shot and will listen to me.
Yeah.
I actually think if this team falls flat, which I don't think it will, but if it does, I think Hubert Davis could be
on the hot seat next year.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. I think the other interesting thing too, like we talked about the size of the roster of Miami, right? We were like, hey, obviously like Norshad Omier is like a really good center, but across the entirety of the roster, they don't have a ton of good size. I don't think that's going to be a problem with this.
No.
With this North Carolina roster. No. Cadeau and Davis are both like 6 foot, but basically everybody else, like some of the other guys that are going to get run in the backcourt, whether it's Seth Trimble or Cormac Ryan coming in.
Yeah, they're all Jackson. Like 6'5" and up.
Yes. Yeah. So like obviously their point guards are not going to be huge at 6 foot each.
Right.
But I think like the overall size of the roster is going to be a benefit to them.
So now we're going to talk about the mystery team of the ACC. And this is a team I think has the potential to make the NCAA tournament, but some things have to go right for it. And that's Wake Forest. First of all, they lose their point guard, Tyree Appleby, to the pros. Tyree Appleby was the runner-up for Player of the Year in this conference. They also lose a nice shooter in shooting guard Davian Williams, who moves on to the pros, and Bobby Klipman, who showed a lot of promise, especially in the second half of the last season. Unfortunately for Wake fans, has moved on to play professionally in Australia, and he will be automatically in this year's draft. So we will be watching him. Now, who comes back? Damari Monsanto, a brilliant off-the-dribble shooter. This guy can score from anywhere. Not many people know him, but man, he can make some of the most difficult shots. He's got really good size for a wing. And unfortunately, he got hurt at the end of last season. He's still recovering, and we don't know if he's going to be ready to play. The other returning really good player, star potential-like player, is Cam Hildreth from England. London, England, and Cam is just a scrappy scoring guard, could score at all 3 levels. I just love his game. He's one of those guys that, if he wasn't doing this, he'd probably like be a boxer or something. He's just really scrappy. They also bring in Andrew Carr back from power forward. Matthew Marsh comes back at center. He's the conference's leading returner from last year for field goal percentage at 88.3. The guy never missed a shot. And as a result of having a field goal percentage close to 90%, he also is the leading returner for offensive rating at 151.5. They also bring back Joe Aituka, who was a transfer last year and didn't get much time because he too got hurt. And we're not sure he's going to be ready for the start of this season. And then they have Zach Keller. Clayton Conover and I interviewed Zach while he was still in high school. He was a 3-4 star guy, barely played last year, but he's still on the roster. Now, they also bring in a whole bunch of transfers and a couple of notable freshmen. Okay, so from the portal, they get Hunter Salas, a wing from Gonzaga, really long, athletic, and can defend. Similarly to the next guy, Abramo Kanika comes in, a wing from UCLA. He was a highly regarded prospect, especially in Europe, and he's only a sophomore, I believe. Efton Reed comes in also from Gonzaga. This is his second time transferring, and he still hasn't gotten a waiver. Kevin Miller, who missed most of last season at Central Michigan, he is a candidate to start at point guard for this team, at least as long as Aituka is out. Miller had a really outstanding freshman season 2 years ago. Marcus Marion comes in from the Danish basketball league, and he put up really nice numbers over there. He is a freshman. And two other freshmen that are top 150 guys are Parker Friedman, he's a shooting guard, and Aaron Clark, a wing. Now, why do I say this is the mystery team? Well, if Monsanto plays and Ituka plays and Reed gets the waiver and Miller, who also I think came up lame recently in a scrimmage and is coming off a season-ending injury, if all these guys are healthy and playing, this is a great team with balance, size, shooting. But if not, especially Monsanto is the biggest piece. If he will be the star of this team if he plays and is healthy, but without him, they're probably looking at mediocrity.
Yeah, I think. Oh man, where to even start? It's kind of like Pandora's box, if you will. Or are you familiar with Schrodinger's cat?
I've heard of it, but I forget it.
So basically it's like this physicist who he goes, all right, so if I send you a cat in a box, right, in the mail, up until you open the box, all things, whether it be the cat is dead, the cat is alive, there was never a cat, up until the fact that you open the box and like the thing becomes reality, up until it becomes reality, all things are on the table and like equally on the table. And so like up until we start playing basketball and we see who is available for this team, you could tell me they finished second in the conference and you could tell me they finished like 12th in the conference. And I believe it. Like, right, as you said, if the best case things happen, if Monsanto comes back, if Miller turns out to be the guy they need at point guard, I'm a little dubious that Efton Reed is actually going to play. Just because I think the NCAA has been a little stricter with two-time transfers this year, specifically, which he is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much this factors in. Back when he was at LSU, he was suspended for 10 games for receiving impermissible benefits.
I did not know that. So
I don't know what that means, but like to me, does that make it less likely that he returns? Potentially. We just like have to wait and see who's going to be actually available. I really like the talent on the team. I really like the balance. I think Steve Forbes has done a really excellent job over the last couple of seasons, like starting to really build a program and build a roster.
I agree.
Can he get the guys in who are going to be in there for 2-3 years and really build the program? That's to be decided. I think Salas and Konka and Efton Reed could be those guys. All of them have a couple of years of eligibility left, presuming that, Reed gets his transfer in. But, man, it is Schrodinger's cat until they actually play.
Didn't that whatever you want to call it, that theory, wasn't that talked about in the movie The Prestige?
It has been a long time since I've seen that movie, so potentially.
It's a great movie, by the way, folks. Prestige. But anyway, we'll move on to Syracuse. And Syracuse is losing Joe Girardi, who we talked about earlier. He's going to Clemson. Center Jesse Edwards, who was a shot blocking machine for that team last year, he goes to West Virginia. And Samir Torrance, a combo guard, moves on to Binghamton. Coming back is Judah Mintz, one of the best freshmen in the conference last year. Thought about going pro, but didn't. Benny Williams, a former 4-star, comes back. Malik Brown, a power forward, comes back. Chris Bell, who screwed us all up last year by changing his name in the middle of the season. He's a great shooter. He comes back. He's only a sophomore. A couple other decent young guys coming in who were rated pretty highly. Justin Taylor, a wing, and Quadir Copeland, a combo guard. Now, coming in, one of the stars of the portal, J.J. Starling, the combo guard from Notre Dame, who had an excellent freshman season for Notre Dame in some ways. He was a bit of a mixed bag. It wasn't very efficient, but the talent is there, and I'm talking about NBA talent. Also, speaking of NBA talent, Chance Westry, who had an injury-plagued season with Auburn last year, 4-star guy. He comes over from Auburn, and again, this year, he's been bothered by injuries. Last time I heard, he's still hurt, so we don't know if he's going to be ready for the regular season. Naheem McLeod comes in from Florida State, and he's like 7'4", literally. He will try to take over for Jesse Edwards at the center spot. And also Kyle Cuff comes in, a combo guard from Kansas, didn't get much run there. Former high recruit. He did well at a recent scrimmage, by the way. So he's looking good. The thing I see with this team, you have Starling and Mintz, maybe, going to be one of the best backcourts in college basketball. And you have guys like Benny Williams and Westry at the wings, Chris Bell at the wings. That's all nice. But beside McLeod and Malik Brown, there's no height on this team. I mean, and so if something happens to one of those guys, yeah. But I expect them to go 4 out, 1 in,
Oh, yeah.
Because they really don't have any other options.
Yeah, I really do think Mintz and Starling could be one of the best backcourts in the conference, at least from a talent perspective, easily one of the best backcourts in the conference.
Yeah.
Also, you were talking about Westry being injured, and there is currently no listed timetable for his return.
Right.
So that does not bode well for him playing this year. I mean, they'll be fine. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what they look like without Jim Boeheim actually there.
Yeah.
Giving Autry like a real chance to run the team. He's able with this transfer class to get some of like his guys in. I know Westry is out right now, but Autry was the lead recruiter on Chance Westry when Chance was still in high school, and Syracuse was the first team to offer. And like he talked a lot about that being why he chose Syracuse. So I think like that magnetism and gravity could really help them build. I think they'll be fine this year. I think they'll be interesting. I don't think they have the depth, whether it be the depth at the talent level or the depth, like you were saying, with some of their big guys to make a run. I'm excited to see what Naheem McLeod can do with some real run this year. He's been kind of all over the place at Florida State. Like I think he could add something down low. He's going to have to.
Right.
But
what do you think about Mintz and Starling both being super Bowl dominant? Are they going to be able to play together? It's kind of like
so.
Kyrie. It's kind of like Kyrie and Luka.
Except Kyrie's nuts, and I would never sign Kyrie on my team ever, but that's just me.
Here's the other thing with both of those guards. They love to attack the basket. And neither of them are great shooters yet. So that's also a concern. I mean, I personally, they're just too similar. I'm just, how do you make it work? We shall see. But they're very young, and for all we know, after a whole off season, maybe they're both shooting the ball better.
I hope so. They're both super talented.
Yeah,
like I think they both potentially have NBA chances.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah.
They will definitely get drafted when they decide to come out.
Yes.
All right. So now we talk about Boston College, who actually was a surprise last year. And they don't lose anything overly dramatic, but then again, they didn't really have a star last year. They lose Makai Ashton Langford, a combo guard, to graduation. DeMar Langford, who never really ever lived up to his recruiting rankings, goes on to UCF. And TJ Bickerstaff, the coach's son, not Boston College coach, but the coach of who's Bickerstaff? He coaches in the Wizards, right?
I'm pretty sure it's the Cavs.
Oh yeah, right. Anyway, he moves on. The son moves on to James Madison. So they bring back a bunch of players. They're going to have a lot of continuity. Quentin Post, center, was a pleasant surprise. He's another player from England in this conference. Devin McLaughlin, I believe, was a freshman last year. He looked good. He comes back. And Jaden Zachary, a combo guard, he played fairly well last year. He comes back. Prince Aligbe comes back. He's a small forward. He was a freshman last year. Mason Madsen, shooting guard, comes back. And Donald Hand, who was a decent recruit, 3-star, 4-star guy, shooting guard who redshirted last year. He also returns. Now they don't have much coming in with all these players coming in. They don't have much coming in. They have they have one freshman of note, and that's power forward center Jaden Hastings. He's a top 200 guy, 3-star guy. He comes in, and then they have Claudel Harris, a shooting guard for Charleston Southern, who's actually pretty interesting player. He put up a lot of points last year, 17.4 to be exact. Shot 46 from the field, 33 from deep, 79 from the free throw line. Chipped in 3.9 rebounds, 2.3 assists. So he's obviously was a big time scorer for Charleston Southern. And I think he's going to have an impact on this team as well. So what do you make of the Eagles?
A really solid middle class team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's about it. Like, they don't have the scoring punch, I think, at the end of the day to really contend with some of the higher level teams. I love, like, my favorite thing in college basketball right now is teams that win or teams that get old and stay old. Mm-hmm. And so I think like that continuity is going to be super helpful for them. Just like bringing everybody back. I like some of the inside out game they've got with Post and McLaughlin down low. And I think Claudel Harris can really add that scoring punch. I think Zachary and Aligbe if they can take the next step, maybe they can like get some wins in the ACC and sneak into the tournament on the back of like their ACC wins. The ACC is just like super open this year, I think, outside of what we think the top 3 is, but just a really solid middle of the road ACC team.
Yeah. And most of them can come back next year. So I think maybe next year might be the year. Yeah.
Aligbe was on the same high school team with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Suggs. So played some high-level basketball in high school.
Right. All right, next up is Virginia Tech, who made the NIT last year. They were kind of on the bubble, so they close to making the NCAAs. They lose 2 of their best players. In forward, Justin Mutz, who was a all-around forward, very athletic, great defender. He goes on to the pros. And Grant Basile, who was a very nice passer, could shoot the ball some and also score inside. Very valuable player for them. And they also lose Darius Maddox to George Mason. Maddox was once considered, a rising star for this team. But I forget what happened last year, that he had to leave the team for a while, and then he just stayed away. And instead of coming back this year, he decided to go to George Mason. Now, coming back, though, is a nice core. Sean Padula, the point guard. Hunter Couture, shooting guard. Both of these guys can shoot. They're smart players. Rodney Rice will probably be a part of the starting lineup as well. He's a combo guard. And he kind of displaced Maddox as that, like, 6th man last year. They also, Lynn Kidd, former Clemson player, has nice length, nice size, can be a potent shot blocker, and that will be needed if I think one of their keys to success is whether Kidd turns out to be a good rim protector this year. They also bring back some young players who didn't play much last year. Combo guard MJ Collins, Mila Gel. Boy.
Oh man.
We're just gonna say Miley. Okay, so Miley Poteet, power forward center, and John Camden, a combo forward. Coming in are 3 solid forwards from other programs. These guys all can shoot to some degree, all can rebound, have good size. They're like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and that's Makai Long, a small forward from Old Dominion, Tyler Nickel, power forward from UNC, and Robbie Barron, a power forward from Northwestern. They also have coming in as a freshman, Brandon Recksteiner, a point guard who was a top 150 recruit. So what do you make of Virginia Tech?
I think they could potentially push for pretty reasonably push for an NCAA tournament bid. I think they're probably going to end up passing it right. So last year they finished below Boston College, below Syracuse, below Wake Forest, all these teams we've already talked about. And I think it's pretty reasonable that they can finish ahead of some of the teams we just talked about. They had that stretch of like 1-7 last year, was it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they went 11-1 and then lost, 7 in a row. And I just think they bring back all 3 of their starting guards really good. They've got some depth in the front court with some of the bigs they bring back. I think Barron and Mekhi Long and even Nickel, as you said, all 3 are going to give them versatility and potential bodies, like high-level bodies to play in the front court as well. And that can stretch the court. I don't think this team has the star power to like contend for the NCAA tournament title or anything like that. But I think this team could surprise some teams in the regular season, especially with their shooting, right? Catch some teams when they're sleeping, and like get some sneaky good wins and like push for an NCAA tournament bid.
Yeah. This team reminds me a little bit of Clemson, in their ability to shoot.
Yeah.
So,
but it's like, can they play defense?
Right, exactly. Because Mike Young runs a beautiful offense, a lot of motion, a lot of, working off the ball to get the good shot. But last year they did not play good defense. Part of the reason was they didn't have a rim protector. And that's why I'm saying, if Lynn Kidd turns out to be a defensive force, or even just a good defender, this team can definitely finish toward the top of the conference.
I mean, he only played 12 minutes last year, 12 minutes a game, and basically had like a rebound and a half in 12 minutes. So I certainly wouldn't say he's a rebounding presence.
No. Does have the size though. What is he, about 6'11"?
6'11", 6'10".
And he's long too.
His length is definitely, yes.
All right. So next up is Florida State, who just had another disappointing year. They've never seemed to recover from that COVID year when they were one of the favorites to win it all. What they lose from this team is, of course, we mentioned Naheem McLeod moving on to Syracuse. Also, Caleb Mills, wing, moves on to Memphis. And probably their star player from last year, Matthew Cleveland, though he underachieved, he still was this team's star player. He moves on to Miami. So who comes back? Baba Miller, who we will talk to later in this episode. Cameron Corrin, who had a nice freshman season last year at center for this team. Jalen Worley, combo guard, comes back. Cameron Fletcher, Darian Green, nice shooter at wing. Chandler Jackson, another sophomore combo guard. And Deontay Green, I think he's also a sophomore coming in, still there as power forward. So a lot of continuity. A lot of these guys were high recruits. And of course, Baba Miller was highly regarded too, being in playing in the Real Madrid system for a number of years before he came to Florida State. So coming in as a recruit, we have Taylor Bowen, power forward, number 73 in the composite rankings. Jameer Watkins is probably the top transfer, a forward from VCU, has a lot of athleticism, some shot creation. He's never quite got the consistent playing time at VCU. This might be a perfect fit for him in a system where Coach Hamilton likes to use a lot of players. But Watkins has a nice combination of size and athleticism. Primo Spears, coming off a nice year, at least in terms of passing and running the Georgetown offense. He's a little point guard, and Josh Nickelberry, a shooting guard from LaSalle, also joins the team. So what do you make of this Florida State team? Like Boston College, a lot of continuity here.
I feel like I'm just waiting on them to get back to where they have been, right? Like, as you said, they kind of haven't recovered since COVID. It's like they haven't had I was really hoping Caleb Mills was going to be the guy, kind of like that one ball handler, that guy that kind of stirs the drink, especially off the dribble. And he wasn't. He wasn't able to get that. But this team is super talented. Jalen Worley, Baba Miller, Cameron Fletcher, even Taylor Bowen, Primo Spear. Like, this team has the talent. I think I'm really curious to see what does like their guard leadership look like. Does Worley, is he able to kind of step into that lead guard handler, or is Primo Spears able to be that guy? Is Nickelberry able to be that guy? I think this team has the talent. I like Watkins. I think Bowen could add some really, like, I know they lost Cleveland. I think that's a pretty big deal, but I think Bowen can give you a lot of the same things that he did off the bench. I mean, probably again another like middle of the pack ACC team, but it does really feel like a Leonard Hamilton team, though, right? Like
Yeah,
a lot of length, a lot of size, a lot of athleticism. I feel like there was like a decade straight that they had a 7-footer on their team. I'm excited. I think they continue to bring in good guards from the portal, but can they mesh that talent with some of that guard play that they're bringing in?
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to find some shooting. That was a big problem for them last year.
Still
and
is.
None of these guys historically have been good shooters.
No.
So that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, Nickelberry's at, for his career, 36%.
Yeah, not bad.
That's not terrible. But I definitely would say a lot of the returners that know the system, whether it be Miller, Fletcher on the wing, like none of them are definitely known for being shooters.
Right. All right, so now we'll move on to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, who we talked about with our guest Miles Kelly. We'll probably won't talk about them so long because we talked Miles about the team quite a bit. But just to review, they lose probably their best player last year next to Miles Kelly, and that's Javon Franklin, who was a force, undersized center for them. He's moved on to the pros, and Davion Smith, point guard, moves on to Utah, among others. Kelly comes back. His fellow junior Dallin Coleman comes back. They make a nice combination in the backcourt. Also, Lance Terry comes back, and Kyle Sturdivant comes back at point guard. So a lot of returning coming back in the backcourt, and they are joined by Kawisi Reeves from Florida, a former high recruit, really good defender, very good athlete. Hasn't quite put it together yet. But the potential's there for, I mean, we were talking NBA potential type, in terms of athleticism and defense, and it's got to improve in the shooting department. And they also bring in some interesting people from the portal, which we talked about with Miles. I won't review that. But the one thing that I took away from the interview with Miles, because one of the things I said was, to him was, this team, your team looks loaded with guards and wings. Look like you're really going to be competitive, but where, who's going to be the guy, the bigs on this team? And the person he pointed out was Bay Ndongo, the freshman. And he seemed to think that Bay was going to have an impact right away. And he is number 126 in the freshman composite rankings. So your thoughts on Georgia Tech?
I think they'll be fine. Again, like I feel like we're just kind of in that glut, right? Of like, these are the teams in the middle that are going to kind of be there. I think Claude, the transfer from Western Carolina, could be pretty impactful for them, right? We were talking about them bringing back some of the guys, especially in the guard positions. But will they have that size down low? Claude, at least, I mean, granted, sure, it's Western Carolina, but like, averaged 15-8 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that can translate, even if he can get to, like, man, not the size I was hoping for at 6'7", but like still some size down low, some semblance of somebody who doesn't play a guard. Right. Man, I think it's gonna be tough sledding for them if we're being honest. But I think, like as you said, Miles Kelly's really good. Their guards are really good. If Reeves can get some potential, maybe we're looking at like a really fun offensive team that can steal a couple of wins here and there.
Yeah. No, and I think Kapari really never got a chance at UMass, and I think he has a chance to be one of the forwards on this team. The big thing, to me, is the bigs. How are they going to match up there?
Yeah.
With some of the teams that have like the Baycots and the Filipowskis. That's going to be tough. They're basically going to have to try to outrun them.
Yes, which is fun. I'm here for that. I love that. If there was a league pass for college basketball, they might be a high league pass team.
Right.
Probably not, but maybe. Who knows?
All right. So we only got two teams left, and one of those is Notre Dame. And as we said, Mike Braid left, and he probably picked a perfect time to leave.
Do you want to skip Notre Dame?
No.
Are you sure?
You do
Over or under like 2 conference wins.
Wow, you're killing me. You do know that I bleed green, right?
I didn't make that choice for you. I'm sorry.
All right.
As far as I can tell on the Zoom screen, there's no gun to your head making you be a Notre Dame fan.
Well, I'm not going to switch. But anyway, so the Irish lose a ton, including JJ Starling, their prize freshman from last year, and then that senior class that had seemingly been around forever. They all moved on to the pros. Dane Goodwin, Nate Lashevsky, Trey Warts, Marcus Hammond. They also lost their second best freshman from last year, Van Allen Lubin, who looked really good. He goes to Vanderbilt, and Cormac Ryan, of course, went to Stanford. So the only player who actually
North
played
Carolina.
What did I say?
Stanford.
Oh yeah, right. He
started at Stanford, right?
Right. Matt Zona is the only player played significant minutes last year for the team, and he's not a great player. So this team, they have a decent recruiting class led by Kerry Booth, a power forward who was number 59 in the composite rankings. And they also have, 3 other guys that ranked between 150 and 200 that are coming in. Marcus Burton, point guard, Brandon Shrewsbury, shooting guard, Logan Imes, a combo guard at 198. Shrewsbury brings in Kebajai from
Dayton, Ohio guy.
Okay, Kebajai from Penn State. Was a big, didn't play a lot last year as a freshman. And Ty Davis comes in for a forward from Seton Hall. He's probably going to be the leading scorer on this team if the freshman Booth is not.
I mean, I do legitimately think like Kerry Booth could be a very good player. I was pretty surprised that Shrewsbury was able to get him to Notre Dame. Honestly, like I don't remember off the top of my head who else he was looking at, but I think he's really sneaky. He grew, or he really just exploded up the rankings over the last kind of year, and I think is a really, really skilled, highly athletic, smart basketball player that could be pretty good. I'll be honest, I'm not too impressed about watching or too thrilled about watching Notre Dame this year. So it's just kind of a holding year, honestly, for Shrewsbury until I get some of his guys.
There's no doubt in my mind the Irish are going to be in last place.
Yes, I don't think it's going to be particularly close.
Right. Last team on our list is Louisville, who was just absolutely dreadful. I could list everything that they were last in this conference in. Well, let's just put it this way. They were last in offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency. In fact, their defensive efficiency was the 4th worst in the country last year.
Bad sign.
Turnover percentage was the 11th worst in the country last year. So anybody they lose, they probably think is probably not such a bad deal, but I also think it's a sign that Kenny Payne, because a lot of these guys they lost are former high recruits, and Kenny Payne might already be on the hot seat. The big guy they lose is L. Ellis, who led this team in scoring and assists. We talked about Withers going to North Carolina. Kamari Lands goes to ASU. Sidney Curry, the big center, goes to Grand Canyon. Roosevelt Wheeler, another big center, goes to VCU. Devin Ree, a forward, goes to Louisiana Tech. Who's left? Brandon Huntley Hatfield, former 4-star. Mike James, former 4-star, I believe, comes back at the wing. Huntley Hatfield is a power forward. They also have a couple of guys who didn't get a lot of playing time last year, but were fairly highly regarded freshmen coming in, and that's JJ Traynor and Emmanuel Okafor. Now, from the portal, they basically, their top 2 guys are kind of underperforming former 4-star guys, and Trey White, wing coming in from USC, Sky Clark coming in, point guard from Illinois. Sky actually left the team last year about a third way in, and then just didn't come back. Just announced he was going to transfer. And then they bring in a very respectable, actually very good recruiting class. All 4 of their recruits are top 80 in the composite rankings, including center Dennis Evans at number 27. They also bring in small forward Caleb Glenn, small forward Curtis Williams, and Tyler Johnson, a point guard. I don't see Louisville being any worse than last year. How good can this team be?
Oh man, this team is not quite at the level of Wake Forest's Pandora's box or Schrodinger's cat, but I do think this is like a team, like we talk about talent, like JJ Traynor, really talented high school player, Brandon Hunley Hatfield, really talented high school player, Trey White, Sky Clark, like there's a ton of talent. I do think that they'll probably finish in the bottom 3 just because of how young they are.
Right.
But I do really like a lot of the talent. I'm not as quick to be like, hey, Kenny Payne's on the hot seat, especially because I know he didn't get him, but he was so close to getting DJ Wagner to come in this year. Like, to me, there's something there. I don't see Louisville go, like, I don't know. He's still just a really big name, been pretty successful recruiting, but just like, can he build? I think we need to see some building blocks this year. We need to be able to like squint and look and say, all right, this is a good, there are things here to build with and work on. And you're right, we didn't see that last year at all. I'm intrigued to watch it. I'm excited to see Sky Clark and Trey White play. Dennis Evans definitely needs to bulk up a little, but was probably the best defensive center in all of high school basketball last year. And Caleb Glenn, I really like. I think I would probably have him as like a top 50 guy, honestly. So I'm excited to watch him. Do I think they're going to be like great? No. Do I think they're going to be fun? Yes. So if you're here for the vibes, League Pass, Louisville, and Georgia Tech for the bottom. To not finish in the bottom. That's what we're here for.
Right. This team lost Trenton Flowers.
Yes, big deal.
Not too long ago. And he is, for who don't know, is probably like an oversized guard. He's got size of a forward, but he
thinks he's an oversized guard.
Well, right. And he wanted to play point guard for this team. And apparently Kenny Payne wasn't too keen on him being point guard, and he left to go play professionally in Australia.
Well, he started with one NBL team and they like played him at point guard for like 5 games and then he left them too.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's been much better. He like landed with another NBL team. And from what I don't know if they like convinced him to not play point guard, but from what I've heard, he has been a lot more successful with that next NBL team.
I will have to look into that because obviously he's on our draft board. And obviously we haven't got into evaluating European players yet because we haven't even finished previewing the college season. So, all right. So which team wins this conference? I think we both already know. We already said who we think is going to win.
Do we agree on this?
Yeah, I like Duke.
I love that. I also like Duke.
All right. So yeah, I think Miami is in the running. I think Miami's in the running, but I think Duke's pretty solid favorite.
Yeah. I even would I think if North Carolina hits their highest outcome, I think there's like a legitimate chance that that North Carolina finishes above Miami.
Yeah, possible. Yeah.
I'm a big Elliot Cadeau fan. I really like the shooting they bring in. That Duke North Carolina game is going to be real fun this year.
Yeah.
I'm not as big of a believer in like Poplar as being like an off the dribble guy. And so outside of Nigel Pack, I just don't know if they're going to have the offense.
Okay. Fair enough. So what teams do you think in this conference, in addition to Duke, make it as at-large bids to the NCAA tourney?
I mean, Miami and North Carolina, I think, are basically locks.
Yes.
I would almost put Clemson as a lock. as well. I want to do that. I really like a lot of their pieces. I like their depth. Man, those are the locks. I actually think I'd have Virginia as the 5th team and Syracuse as the 6th. Again,
Wow.
Wake Forest. Yeah, Wake Forest.
No, that's the same order I would put them.
Oh, okay. You would have Syracuse 6th?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then maybe like Wake Forest. Again, like we said, Schrodinger's cat, Pandora's box. Maybe. Virginia Tech, maybe. I don't really see anybody else. I don't see Florida State. I don't see Pitt. I don't see Georgia Tech. I don't see NC State. Like, probably 5 teams, 6.
Right. Well, you have 6 listed. I have 6 listed, and they're the same 6.
You wrote too much, so I didn't look at yours when I wrote mine down.
Well, I wrote about what happens if they got an extra bid. First of all, we're both predicting they get one more bid than last year, and I think this conference is better than last year. I don't think
there's a ton of returning.
Yeah. So I think this conference, very few teams in this conference are taking a step backwards, except for maybe Virginia, Notre Dame. Everybody else seems to be moving forward, So what I found interesting about last year was the difference between like the 10th best team and the 4th best team was really not much of a difference. And I think it's going to be just that way this year. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if this league got 7 bids. I wouldn't be shocked. And the 2 teams that I like the best that we didn't put in the tournament are Wake and Florida State. I think you're right. I think this Florida State team kind of has a look of the old style Florida State teams. And the question is, where will the offense come from? All right. So player of the year. I think we're going with the same guy there too.
I hate agreeing. It's boring. Bad content. Yeah, Filipowski from Duke.
Yeah,
I think he's pretty unquestionably the best player. Maybe not today the best player. I don't know. There's an argument, but he's going to be the best player on the best team. He's going to score. I think he could push 20 points a game this year. He's just so versatile. He's going to be in better shape than he was last year. He surprisingly didn't score as well around the hoop as I had hoped for. So I think even that he's going to get better. Some of the other people I think could contend. Big PJ Hall guy. I like the bigs and the versatility there. My 2 sneaky ones would be Nigel Pack. Like, I think that off the dribble shot creation, he's going to be leaned on a lot in Miami. If they somehow make it to the top of the conference, like, I think he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the reason. And I actually think the other sneaky pick is none other than Filipowski's teammate, Tyrese Proctor. He's going to be leading the charge offensively for the Blue Devils. The ball is going to be in his hands a lot. Over the second half of last season, he shot particularly well from the 3-point line. And so that's going to give him some of that space creation. He's going to get a lot of attention to spray the ball out when he gets downhill. A big fan of I just think a lot of the times you see ball handlers are the ones who end up winning. Judah Mintz could make a run for it. Miles Kelly could make a run for it. I don't know, maybe Couture or Padula. Probably Couture could. There's a couple of guys I could see make a sneaky run for it and get in the top 5. But to me, it's Filipowski, PJ Hall, and Nigel Pack, and then Proctor is probably in that next group. Maybe Mintz is in the next group.
Okay. I, too, think Filipowski's pretty solid pick. My second choice would be PJ Hall, but that's where we differ a little. Norchad Omier would have been my third choice, and Reese Beekman, too. I think he has a very good shot, though I do think Virginia's taken a step backwards this year. He would probably be my fourth choice. Mintz would be up there, and we haven't mentioned Baycott.
No.
Armando Baycott. And I think the only reason he won't get a lot of votes is people are bored with him. They're just like, go to the pros already.
You're not wrong. It's voter fatigue for college athletes.
Yeah. All right. So now, before we wrap this up, we're going to roll an interview I did earlier today with Baba Miller from Florida State, and we'll ask him some of those questions that have been we've been talking about in our analysis. Alrighty, today we have a special guest, Florida State forward Baba Miller. As a freshman last season, Baba was an All-ACC Academic selection, and this summer he won a gold medal while playing for the Spanish under-19 national team in the World Cup. Welcome to the show, Baba. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
I am doing well. Did you do anything special for Halloween?
Nah.
No?
Just went to sleep early. Had class in the morning, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I got dressed up as a tall, thin, young guy who knew something about basketball. So there are so many things because you have an interesting story that I have to ask you. So we'll start off from the beginning. You were born in Spain on the Mediterranean island of Majorca, and you were playing in the Real Madrid system at the age of 12. It should be noted that between 14 and 19, you grew 9 inches, but when you originally joined up with them, you weren't anywhere close to 7 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So please take me a little bit through that journey. How does that happen? How does Real Madrid find you at 12, and how do you end up at Florida State?
Well, when I got to Madrid at 8, I just played for like a local team, just to have fun when you're a little kid and stuff. But as you get close to the age of 12, there's like a big jump from playing in like the lowered hoops to like the actual like grown man hoops. And that's when Real Madrid starts recruiting you. So I got a phone call. My parents, they talked to people that run the youth teams. And my parents thought it was a good opportunity for me. So I joined the team at 12. And I played there till I was 18. First years were a little bit hard because I was a little bit underdeveloped physically. My teammates were a little bit like bigger, stronger than me. So I didn't really get that much playing time and stuff. But then when I hit that like 14, 15 year age, I grew a lot. Like from 15 to 16, I grew a lot that one year. I don't remember how much it was, but I grew a lot. And that was a turning point for me from being just an average player to start like, I don't know, getting better at the game and get recognition for it.
Right.
And once I finished my youth years with Real Madrid, it was either stay in Europe, play professional or whatever, or come to the States and keep studying while I can play basketball. So I chose to take this route.
Okay. And was there anything in particular that drew you to Florida State specifically?
I would just say the system and the people, because I came here on a visit in May 2022, and I got to meet everyone, Coach Ham, Coach Jones, Coach Smith, everyone, all of my teammates, well, most of them. And it was just like a great vibe. Just everybody was cool, nice, and I just felt like home when I got here. So I really like knew once I got here that this was a place for me.
Okay. And to get started playing basketball when you were a little boy, was there anything that drew you to that? Like, did anyone in your family, very successful at basketball, or did you just take to the game?
No, my mom just put me into basketball because she saw that I was tall. She put me in, I liked it, so I just stuck with it. Just my love for the game just grew throughout the years.
Right. Okay, so this summer, you won a gold medal, under 19 national team. What was that experience like?
That was great. It was so much fun just being able to go back home, play with teammates that I played with like years in Madrid and years in the national team. It was just a cool experience being able to be there for a month, just practicing and working for the same goal everybody had to win the World Cup and then the tournament, just being able to travel because of basketball, meet new countries, play against the best players in our age group in the world. It was just a cool experience.
Right. His name is escaping me, but did you play with the guy, big guys going to UCLA? Mara?
Nah, I
Is it Mara?
never played with him. Yeah, but I know who he is.
Okay. I thought he
Yeah.
was on the national team. Okay. So while you were doing that, or around that time, the senior team was playing in the Senior World Cup, FIBA World Cup. So did you pay attention to that, that tournament?
Yeah, I actually got the chance to practice with them for a week during their preparation because
Nice.
they played in late August. So I was back home at the beginning of August. So they invited me and a few more teammates to go practice with them. So it was a cool experience.
Very nice. Very nice. Of course, Spain didn't, I don't think they're automatically qualified for the Olympics, are they?
Nah, they have to play the FIBA window.
Right.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Europe seems to get squeezed out of that, where most of the good teams in the world are in Europe, but they only can take so many. Spain looked good though, considering their injuries and young point guard stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right, so let's talk about Florida State. What's the first word that comes to mind when I say Coach Hamilton?
Greatness. I feel like he's done so much for so many people. Like I don't feel like there's many people that could say bad things about Coach Ham. He always just looks out for his players, for his GAs, for his coaching staff, for the medical staff, for everyone around him. So I just think greatness is a good word to describe Coach Ham.
I asked myself that same question, and I think my answer would have been father.
Father.
Yeah, when I look at him, he's like the father that everyone always, if would always want, that type of person. All right, so it seems to me, now this is just conjecture, opinion, but Florida State has yet to recover from the COVID year. Now that was before your time, but at the time, the Seminoles were just a handful of teams to pick to win it all. And in fact, I was like totally convinced they were going to win it all that year.
Yeah.
Now we're talking 2020. And I know there's nothing that can be done about it, but how much does that disappointment of that great season, that great team, and everything being canceled loom over that team?
Oh no, it's just, I mean, at that point in time, I didn't really know about college hoops. I was just like in Europe, just focused on my own thing. But like coming here and learning about the past teams of Florida State, how good they were, just looking back at it, it's just amazing to see how the system actually like works when you actually do it right, when you do the right stuff, when you listen to coaches and do whatever they ask for. So it's just cool watching that team specifically with Trent, with Devin, with Pat, all these great players. Like it's just cool watching it, and it's a shame they couldn't win it all. But I think a lot of us know that might have been the outcome of that season.
Yeah. Dayton, of course, even, a small school, they too suffered the same fate. Very unfortunate. We never got to see that tournament. All right. So last season, you were limited to just 15 games because of NCAA rules, and the team finished 12th in the ACC. In my opinion, when I look back at the season, there's three main issues I saw: shooting efficiency, turnovers, and defense. And the last one is usually not something you say is a problem at Florida State. Have those issues been discussed? And what about this year's team gives you confidence that things will be better this season?
Yeah, we've addressed all the problems we had last year and just try to build off of that and get better. And what gives me confidence about this team is just the level of buy-in everybody has this year. Everybody's willing to work and get better and listen to coaches and what they got to say, how we should do stuff. Like everybody's really bought in. And for example, a shooting efficiency, like we got a lot of shooters this year. We got great shooters this year, like Darren, Josh, even the wings like Jameer, me, Cameron. Like we got so many shooters on this team this year, so that gives me confidence. And then on defense, we're doing a lot of stuff that we didn't do last year. And when it comes to communicating switches, to like helping when you even shouldn't have to help, everybody's just running around, being disrupted like Florida State in the past. So that just fuels us up to try to be like the good teams like 2020 with all the good guys that were here.
Right. So you just mentioned my next question you kind of partially answered already. I was going to ask you stylistically, how will this team be different? Now you're saying we're going to get back to that hard-nosed pressure Florida State defense that everyone's familiar with. How about on the offensive end? Is there going to be a different look this year on that end?
We look a lot better on offense because we brought in a lot of guys that can make, that can score, and we got a lot of shooters this year, like I said. So we can be a threat from the perimeter, but we still have the tools to be above the rim finishing team. So I think it's going to be fun on offense, but defense is what's going to make us different. Right. We got points. We just got to make our defense be how it used to be. I think we're on track.
Right. So what particular teammates, including the new guys, have, you think have had a very strong off-season / preseason?
Well, I really think everybody on the team worked their ass off. Oh, excuse my language.
That's okay.
Worked their tail off in the off season. But I don't know. I would see Cam Corhan in the gym every day, Darren Green, myself. Then when the new guys came in, I started working out every day with Jameer Watkins. I would see Josh and Tom shooting in the mornings every day. I would see everybody working. Taylor. Everybody was in the gym this offseason. So I think that helped us a lot, just individually for everyone to gain confidence, more confidence in their game, and then collectively working out together just created more chemistry between us and more understanding of each other on the court.
Right. And for those who aren't Florida State, diehard fans, you're talking about Taylor Bowen, freshman forward, Jameer Watkins, transfer from VCU. I've always been a big fan of Jameer's game. Primo Spears is coming in, a point guard from Georgetown, and also Josh Nickelberry, a shooting guard from LaSalle. So there's some of the new guys. All right, so you kind of have interesting options at point guard. You have Primo, big assist guy last year. You got Jalen, who was second on the team, I believe, last year in assists. You have Chandler, who's just a sophomore, correct?
Yeah.
And then you have yourself, who played a lot, in pick and roll. So who do you think is going to be the primary lead guard in this offense?
I couldn't say, but at the end of the day, Florida State is 4 guards and 1 big. Everybody does the same on the perimeter, but we're gonna need a lot of leadership from Jalen Worley this year. Primo Spears, he's a dog on defense. He's a leader on offense, so he's gonna be good for us. Chandler's taking big steps for us, and then anyone else could really move up to that position if we needed to, since everybody has to do the same things on offense. So, but yeah, I think all of our point guards are really good this year. They can help us a lot.
Right. In typical Florida State fashion, you should be able to throw a lot of guys out there.
Yes, sir.
So how about you? Well, what about yourself? What about your game do you think has developed over the off season?
I think I've worked a lot on getting to my spots. So if I got a smaller guard on me, I'm going to post them up every time. If I got a bigger guard on me, I'm going to take him out to the perimeter and play from there. I've worked a lot on my shot. Last year I had a hard year with my shot, but I think it's coming back how it used to be. And then just playmaking. I just really like playmaking for my team. It might not be coming off of ball screen or whatever, but I can pass, I can dribble, hit a back door, I can skip pass. I really like finding my teammates and just creating ball movement within the offense. So I'm looking forward to that.
Right. Typical European style.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think, we've talked about the team in general. What are realistic goals for the Seminoles this season?
Realistic goals? I mean, be better than last year, obviously, but we would want to have a positive win record. I would say, I don't know, our ideal season would be being in the top 4 of the ACC. That would be the ideal. And making it to March Madness. think that's the main goal we got, making it to postseason tournament, get in there and just competing.
Yeah. We're doing our ACC preview this week, and I look at this conference and I look at teams 3 through 12, and man, I could see anybody finishing third in this conference. Just about. I think the first two, I think pretty much people are confident about Duke and Miami, but I think everything else is wide open.
Yeah.
So lastly, you've been involved with professional basketball since the age of 12, which is wild to me. What are some of your interests outside of college basketball, or outside of basketball?
Like interests outside of basketball?
Yeah, anything. It could be another sport, could be movies, could be music.
I don't know. I would just say just like music, video games. I'm big video games. And movies, just hanging out with my friends, just doing normal social activities, going out for food with my friends.
Right.
Yeah, nothing's crazy.
So you have no specific hobby you use to kind of like, clear your head and.
I mean, I just watch YouTube or like Netflix or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, for now I just hang out with my teammates.
And you listen to the show, of course.
Yeah.
All right, Baba, I want to thank you so much. Oh, I got one more question. Since you're European, I almost ask anybody who was born in Europe this question because it's my secret love, not so secret. Do you watch F1, and do you have a favorite driver?
I don't really watch F1, although my friends back home, everybody watches it. But nah, I would say Fernando Alonso.
Oh, yes.
Spanish.
Yes.
But I don't really watch F1 like
right.
that.
Yeah, Fernando had a glorious start to the season, but since then the car isn't functioning for him. So anyway, so if you want to relax on a Sunday, turn on F1. It's good stuff.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Baba, I really want to thank you for joining us today. I wish you and the team the best this season. I think you have one of the best coaches in the country. Team looks deep, looks athletic. It looks like it has great size. I think you're going to be right up there in the upper half of the conference. I forgot, you also have one of the best SIDs in the country, and Chuck Walsh.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and so please come back and visit us after the season, and let us know how the season went and what's next.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
All right. Have a great season.
Thank you.
All right. It was great to talk to Baba, international player, played in the World Cup this year for under 19. That was a fun chat. So that's it for this show. And as always, if I want to thank our listeners, and I certainly want to thank Caleb, and I want to thank our two guests, Miles Kelly and Baba Miller. And if you ever miss an episode, you can always get caught up at hoopsprospects.com. We'll be back very soon to preview the Big 12 Conference.
Two things before we go. As we speak, Duke is looking really good in their exhibition game versus a Division III team happening right now. Looking really good. And then RIP to Bobby Knight, who passed away about an hour ago.
Did he really?
He did.
Really?
Yes. So truly, like, obviously he's got a complicated legacy, but one of the greatest coaches in college basketball that I know lots of people will like truly and genuinely miss.
Yeah. Right. Knew he was very ill.
Yeah.
I've always considered Bobby Knight to be the greatest college basketball coach of all time. They don't really run down his coaching tree so much, but I always thought he got the most out of the least. Of course, his methods could obviously be debated, but he's always been, to me, the best coach and the tutor of your Mike Krzyzewski. So
of who you know I want to argue is the best coach.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, folks. I don't like to end on a sad note, but we will definitely miss Bobby Knight. He was a character and a great coach.